chapter 62, entitled New Sound Palettes, Mid-20th Century American Experimentalists. This is also a chapter which we're going to divide into two parts. The one part is on George Crumb, which we always listened to this part from Secular Song. His piece of music was called a madrigal, and if you remember, it was quite different. And this one is John Cage. It's also a different kind of music, but to me, I think it's more fun. Anyway, here we go. Contemporary music often calls for innovative and highly virtuosic instrumental or vocal effects that challenge performers to new technical levels. Composer John Cage used a specially modified prepared piano to simulate the sound of the Javanese gamelan. We listened to that before, Gamelan Orchestra, and we'll sample a little bit again here and talk in more detail about his prepared piano. This is only one type of experiment that he did, right? In his, there, we go back to Charles Ives, which you already sampled his music, and others that had this American attitude of, why not? I want to do this. Who says I can't do that? Try and stop me, right? Isn't this the American attitude? So Henry Partch did these experiments and invented these instruments for his music into microtones. Remember, we said typically there are 12 tones, 12 half steps in a octave, and he divided it into 43 parts. My gosh. So here, John Cage, born 1912 to 1992, so he would have been 80 years old, Los Angeles born. Now those Californians always been a little irregular, right? He studied music and actually went to a school, a small liberal arts school in the southeastern United States, in the same school where Andy Warhol went, a number of other artists, where one of the things they did, they studied in a lot of Asian philosophy and consideration of nothing. And it's like, what? How do you consider nothing? And it's one of those things, the more you try and think of nothing, the harder it is to do, and the more it hurts your brain. So one of the things that he did, and so we are, because after the World War II, there was a lot of different directions, and it was like anything goes, and people were experimenting in lots of different directions. And this term, we'd say indeterminate, or chance music, or aleatoric music. Aleatoric is another word used for chance music. And this happens in John Cage. So he wrote this piece of music called 4:33, like this, and it really means 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And the first time I saw this, I had no idea what to expect. And it said on the program John Cage, and the performer came out on stage, and there was an applause, and the performer sat down at the music and had a stopwatch and started the stopwatch, and for 4 minutes and 33 seconds pretty much did nothing. And then when the stopwatch, it reached 4 minutes and 33 seconds, he clicked it, stopped it, stood up and bowed and left. And it's like, what? There was no music. And that's correct, but it was, something did happen in this time of nothingness, because there were people there that are watching, and you can imagine they're at first expecting something, and then they're surprised, and then there's some chatter that goes on, and maybe some laughter, and then again it would calm down, and people say, well, he's going to start now. And anyway, so something does happen, and the audience becomes participating in the performance, even though they don't know it. And so John Cage often has, or I've heard him said, that he was an inventor more than he was a composer. So let's just remind ourselves what the gamelan music from Java sounds like. You know, a group like that performs, you think one person leans over to somebody and says, "Man, you really messed up." Possibly. So here is John Cage, and we're going to sample a piece of music from a collection of pieces that is called Sonatas and Interludes, and it's for prepared piano. This is the music comes with instructions and tells that the piano has to be prepared by putting nuts and bolts and erasers and other things in on the strings. And on this string, 4 inches away, do this, and 6 inches away on that. And so this has to be done in advance. And then, so, you know, not nails, bolts, nuts, screws, bits of rubber, wood, or leather, always, and it specifically says to put it in certain places inside the piano. And so what happens is surprising, right? And what is the sonata interludes? There are 4 groups of pieces, which includes 4 sonatas separated by interludes. So how many would that make? Oh, 4 groups of 4 sonatas separated by interludes. So that means there's 16 sonatas plus 3 interludes. So we played the Javanese gamelan orchestra because this is a big influence on John Cage. Let's see, can you hear it? 16 sonatas, 4 groups of 4, separated by interludes. It alters the sound of some strings and not others. And the altered strings have varied timbres and pitches depending on the type of material. I think when you would play it and look at the music and it tells you where to put your fingers, and it's like, it's not the sound that you might expect. Here is the sample. Do you hear the connection there between the gamelan orchestra and his music? Here is a piece of music There's aleatoric, right? Chance music, written by John Cage. It's called Imaginary Landscape number 4. So I'm sure there must have been a 1, a 2, and a 3, but maybe not. And this is, I believe, for 4 radios, and I think this is from 1939. You know, radio had an importance in technology at that time that it doesn't now, and the respect that it doesn't now. But anyway, it's for 4 radios on stage, and there's 2 operators, one with the volume and one that regulates the frequency. And so they have directions on what they're to do. And anyway, here's a little bit of what this was.
First day of
fraction of a point to go up just before the hour. The Dow Jones was up 8.
This temperature shoot for 80 degrees this afternoon.
Balls 2 in the edge.
I think you have to use your imagination a little bit. You go back to our definition of music, sound and time. Okay, we've got that. And then what Frank Zappa taught us about art having a frame around it. And so the frame is the presentation and the title, and it's organized loosely, right? And there are directions, specific directions by the composer. So there you have it, John Cage. Here is another piece. Actually, I'm not sure when the other one was written, but this is from 1939. It's called First Construction in Metal, also by John Cage. Percussion ensemble. It's actually like 9 minutes in length. So you can find this on YouTube. So that would conclude our little introduction and discussion on John Cage, chapter 62B.